Welcome to Lessons from the Field, the podcast where we dig deep with restaurant industry leaders to uncover the strategies, insights, and stories behind their success. Whether it's operational excellence, guest satisfaction, or leveraging data for growth, we're here to bring you actionable lessons straight from the experts.
Hi everyone, I'm Andy Smith. I'm a Chief Marketing Officer at Black Box Intelligence, and welcome to this edition of our Lessons from the Field series. This is where we tap into expertise of industry leaders to explore key challenges and opportunities in the restaurant space. So today I'm super thrilled to be joined by a couple of very special guests. I've got Katie Garcia and Susie Ragland, who are both from Gather Media. And today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, online reviews. Now, you guys are absolute review experts and live and breathe this stuff day in, day out. Perhaps you could start by giving like a brief overview of yourself and what makes you kind of so qualified to talk on this topic.
Thanks for having us on today, Andy. We're excited to be here. We've been doing reputation management for many, many moons, probably over 10 years, and we have probably managed thousands and thousands of reviews on a monthly basis. We're managing 10, 20,000 reviews. We read everything, we see everything, and we live and breathe it. And we just know when things are good, when things are bad, when things can go viral. We know how to communicate about the brand, and we know how to help brands fix problems. And so we're excited to dig in and talk about some of the trends we're seeing today.
Yeah, what about you, Susie?
So I'm Susie Ragland. I'm CMO, COO of Gather Media. Basically do whatever Katie tells me to do, but
Could be worse.
I know, right?
True.
So she's awesome. And like Katie said, we've been doing this for decades before there was tools to help make the management of reputation easy, going on natively and responding. So I mean, old school and all the way to now where life is a little bit easier for us reputation management folks. So we've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, and we've dealt with all of it in a variety of industries, but most significantly the restaurant industry.
Yeah, and just to back up, you guys come from the restaurant industry, and out of that, you kind of spawned Gather Media, which run the online review programs, reputation programs for a number of leading brands, right?
Yep, that's correct.
We've been in business for a little over 5 years now, but Susie and I have both worked with restaurant clients and in the industry for, like 10, 15 years now. So we have deep experience, and like Susie said, we've seen it all.
All right, very good. Well, talking of seeing it all, what's like the weirdest or craziest or stupidest thing you've seen in your kind of day-to-day?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so if anybody listening or watching can like chime in comments on what I'm about to say actually means, this still lives rent-free in my mind. This guy, Mr. Lopez, this place is basically the anthropomorphization of the inside of a Hot Pocket flavored jewel. 3 stars.
What does that mean?
I have no idea. So truly, if anybody listening has some insights into what that means, I'm here for it. I want to know.
We talk about what you should be doing and what you could be doing with guest feedback. I don't know what you do with that, All right, Jay, what have you said? What's your hot one?
Okay, so another one that we thought was just hilarious is we saw a review come in that just said doo-doo food 1 star. So we responded with our, oh my gosh, we're so sorry, your food was, doo-doo or whatever. And, how can we fix this, right? And so the mom of this, we then found child, responded and said, I'm so sorry, my son got hold of my phone. He wrote this review. He's so immature. We had the best time. 5 stars. And so it is so important from that 1 to go to a 5 for so many reasons. And so the moral of that story is you never really know what's happening behind the reviews sometimes. So answer everything.
Yeah, and don't give your kids your phones. I mean, I make that mistake frequentty. All right. So in terms of, you're very close to this. If you look at the restaurant industry as a whole, like reviews are kind of like a really pretty old school. It's got a long history, right? In other industries. Like, could you talk about maybe where we're at as an industry? Like, are we doing well? How can we be doing better? Like, can you maybe grade us as an industry for like review management, reputation management?
Normally when we look at restaurant brands, I would say normally there's more room for improvement than the other way around. I would say most of the time we see restaurants who are managing reviews, they're maybe doing the bare minimum or they're maybe not doing it at all because it just hasn't been a focus. So there's definitely room for improvement. What do you think, Susie?
I would grade them a 3-star. There's room for improvement. And I would say that a lot of the reviews, if they are responding, it's missing the soul of the brand. You don't see their voice or their tone coming through. They could be a little bit more playful. I mean, this is relationship building and this is restaurant. Restaurant, it's a fun industry. And so there's just missing an opportunity to bring that fun and voice into the responses when they are responding. And if they're not responding, I mean, that's a whole different conversation that needs to be had.
We'll definitely talk about that. So a 3-star review, that's generally not a good thing, right? Like generally, if you get a 3-star review, you're not super happy. So I think that contextualizes it quite nicely. But okay, talking of that, talk about some top performers, like who's killing it at the moment when it comes to this sort of stuff.
So one brand we definitely wanted to mention, who is one of our clients and also uses the GuestXM Black Box platform, is Torchy's Tacos. So they actually recently won the Best Practice Award Voice of the Customer and Limited Service.
So to be clear, that's for like the best average star rating throughout the whole of 2024.
Oh yeah, and I think they're doing a great job managing it too. And they also have these amazing, super cute, fun cards that most of their locations have asked for reviews as well. So not only are they managing it well, they're asking for reviews, and you can just see, and their voice is amazing, how they respond is amazing, how they route things is amazing. I mean, they have the whole process from A to Z locked down. I think Susie would agree with that as well.
I totally agree. It's completely on lock. And the way that the reviews and how the importance of the data that they are getting behind the reviews, it's informing decisions that are being made as well too. They're really listening and dialed in on the guest experience, and they're doing something with it. So it's not just they're responding to the reviews, which is great, and there's definite soul to the responses, but then they're listening to it and making decisions based off of that information that they're providing, from the guest. So it's just nice to have that consistent experience within those 4 walls when you walk into a Torchy's to the digital 4 walls of Google and Yelp and such.
That's such a good point about the kind of meshing of the physical and digital and seeing them as a single entity. But there was a lot that you unpacked there, like the routing, the voice, all that stuff. So is there anything like, as you dig into all of those things, like what does good routing look like, for example?
When we start first working with a client who's maybe never done this before, like the first thing we say is like, what's their escalation policy? And we get everybody's phone numbers. We have a phone tree, because you never know what's going to happen. So we do that. And then also we truly believe that it makes sense for corporate marketing to own the reputation management space, right? But it can't be siloed. This needs to touch operations. This needs to, touch the chef. This needs to touch the menu. This needs to touch licensing. Sometimes there's so much that comes through that if corporate marketing can own it and then figure out how to have point people with all the other departments, it really, really works the best that way.
Yep. Same thing with franchisees. So routing it to the franchisees so they're aware of what's going on as well too. That's what's nice about the GuestXM Black Box, platform, is that all levels can see what's happening, and you can give them that type of transparency as well too. So it's just making sure that everybody is aware. Legal is also a team that we work with quite frequently, glass shards and drinks and, minors being served alcohol, that it happens, So to diversity situations and viral moments that happen maybe in a different area and is captured on Instagram, but it bleeds into the reviews as well too. And so that's a direct impact to your sales and traffic, as well as, of course, your reputation.
Yeah, well, you brought it up, sales and traffic. So, with us, we capture guest data, we capture financial data, and so we've been able to really size the impact of average star rating. Clearly, it pulls people into restaurants because when they search online, I mean, who doesn't do a quick search online before they go to a restaurant? So, I mean, that's a big impact it has. But for us, like, we can tell the industry average, if you improve average sale rating by 0.5 in just one unit, you're going to be making around 34,000 on average in that unit per year. So now, like, if you've got like 500 locations or whatever it may be, you start multiplying that up. That's a lot of money. And that's just the industry average. So it goes from QSR right up to fine dining where you see that improvement being like 111,000. So again, you multiply this out, it starts to become really impactful. You're talking of that then. So why is it so hard to get this right? And why is it so hard to get going with this?
Oh, I think you mentioned all this data. Like the data is there. It shows that if your brand puts maybe, I don't know, corporate marketing puts 10% effort into doing the reputation management thing, sales will go up, right? It's there. We know that. But so many times brands they're so busy, they don't have the resources. And also they just want to like cover their eyes and be like, well, that's happening on Google or Yelp and it's not hitting us in the face. And so we don't even want to deal with it. And it's also like, it's not technically broken. So why are we going to put all this, effort into it? But once you start doing it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is happening. And it makes me think of a brand, a big brand that we worked with about a year ago, tons of locations, international brand. They'd never done reputation management before. And we came in and in the first month, one of the trends we said, because we're talking to our brands every single day, we said, hey, like we've noticed we've had like 30 to 50 reviews come in saying that your locations are closing early. Like your kitchens are supposed to be open till midnight. People are coming in at 11. They want to eat. Your kitchens are closed. And so we started just keeping track of the locations. Our team went to their regional managers, and said, you must get this problem fixed immediately. And then within the next month, they saw late night sales jump up 5%. And so that's not even on top of like the improvement of the star ratings. And so when you have people that are invested, people that are willing to work it, that's also too when upper management says like, yeah, like this is really worth the investment. So I encourage any brands who haven't dabbled in reputation management yet to just start.
So let's talk about responding. Like you talked about, routing and that sort of thing. And I think you would think talking more from a kind of actionability perspective, what you should do about it. But like in terms of in the mail responding, showing up online, in terms from a guest engagement perspective, like why is it important, first of all? Why does it matter?
And I'm sure, Andy, you guys have data on this too, but you'll see once you start responding too, you start getting more reviews, right? And also we always like to think of it like if a guest came up to you in your location and said, hey, I loved my food today, and you just smiled at them and like walked away, right? It would be so awkward. And that's kind of what's happening online. And then also in that same vein, if a guest came up to you and said, oh my gosh, I love the food so much. And then you said, great. And you walked away. That would also be kind of personal and awkward. You're like, it's like, that's weird, And so when you're responding, we always say like Susan said, don't ghost your guests and then put that heart and soul of your brand and do your responses.
It's customizing those responses too. So we really, when we build that library, it's okay, what are all the things that could go bad, and to anticipate the bad things, to anticipate the good things and those meh moments as well too. And so then we have something up our sleeve, a response ready to go, and several responses. I mean, these libraries are, 500 responses of a library. And yeah, so it takes
a lot to
time.
go through, yeah.
A lot to go through. And so we're ready to go in that moment. And so we've got, so they sound, that voice, that tone, even do they use contractions? Are they contraction brand? Or are they not? Punctuation. We've got a brand that no punctuation. They sound like a millennial Gen Z, person. We've got another brand that they don't emoji, they Kamoji because it's a Japanese brand. And so thinking outside, we even write haikus for that particular brand.
You write? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, because we're having fun. If it's a Japanese and a haiku is a Japanese type of poem, and so we go, okay, let's talk about their menu, but let's write it in a haiku, and we'll respond to these guests with a haiku and it's unique and it's different, but it sounds like their brand. It's natural to them, so we're having fun in the reviews. Yes, it's that it's not a conversation. We're kind of talking at each other, but we're still going to have fun with it because people are seeing this. Potential guests are seeing these responses and going, well, I want a haiku back. We've actually had people respond saying, oh, I want the weird emojis and, this, I want one of these fun responses. And they give us a 5-star, cool beans, So it's have fun.
I think, one thing, you're talking about bring your brand voice in, right? And I'm like, where do you even start with that? And then I think when you said about the haiku, that really resonated with me. But like, you also talked about like 500 templates or whatever. Like, gosh, this all sounds very intimidating if I'm like, don't know where to start. So like, where do you start?
In theory, right? In the best world, best case scenario, there should be a brand voice doc. Every brand should have a brand voice document. But we know that doesn't always happen. We work with huge brands who are like, oh my gosh, we haven't updated that in like 10 years, And so you have to work with what you got. So a lot of, and you always do want to match, everything should match, your brand should match across the board. So if you're running a certain campaign or, using some certain copy on social or in emails, you can try to bring that in. And then we like to organize our response libraries by star rating. And then we even do it by within those like spreadsheets, we do it by bad experience, bad food, everything was bad. And so then we categorize by that. And so you don't have to start out with 500. I mean, you could, even if you just started out with your top 25, that would be some place to start. And everything that we have done, we get obviously approved by the brand, but then we have creative freedom to then make them even more personal in certain ways. And obviously utilizing dynamic fields, which the guest next in platform has in, so you can put in like their certain location or their name or whatever to just even make it that much more personal. So I would say
Yep.
if you have no response library, start with so you can get 20 done.
It's not a
Yeah.
go big or go home situation here.
Yeah.
Just get started. Just
Yeah.
get started. So if you're probably going to have a bad food, you're probably going to have a bad service, you're probably going to have a weird one. So just like have a general concern, that legal's like, okay, we didn't admit fault to this, but we're concerned about this. So we're going to,
Yeah.
and get them routed to the right place. You're going to have great service. You might have a team member mention. So there's some easy ones that you can get right off the bat, and then you build those out.
So a lot of that is about enablement. Who should actually own the response in your view? And maybe there's not a clear answer, but really curious to hear what you would typically recommend on that.
We like to say like corporate or, working with an agency like us or something like that, like one team, one dream, because sometimes when it filters down to the field, what we've seen is obviously the field has a lot of other stuff going on. So it might get pushed down on their priority list. And two, when you have one centralized team doing it, that's when also that team can start seeing trends. Because if it's siloed, with 20 different people responding, they're not going to be able to see that, oh my gosh, we're all having the same late night kitchen problem. And so that's why we like the centralized team idea.
It's the aces in places. Wouldn't you want somebody who they're specialized in it? So we're PR people. We at the end of the day, our team is PR people. That's our specialty, and truly reputation. This is a PR thing. Yes, it bleeds into marketing and operations and HR and all these other functions, but at the end of the day, it's a PR thing. And so having the aces to know how to deal with because like I said, we've seen it all. I mean, Glassshard, it is really hard for us to sit here and just be like, oh, that's a new one for us. I mean, we've seen everything. And some people, they have maybe like an amygdala hijacking when it's their own store or their own location. They might not respond
In the best way. Yeah.
Or too much time has transpired from the time that the guest did the review to the time that you actually take some action on it. And so just having those aces in places, like someone like us, and we're here, we're invested, this is what we do. You have experts that respond, and we know how to handle these serious situations. We also know how to handle positive situations. I mean, we've had people get married at locations and helped, organize things like that. I mean, beautiful moments have happened, and we know what to do.
I mean, I think that's why people love the industry, right? Like it's about experiences and the happiness you can bring to people. Despite all the maybe 1-star reviews you've read and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I can't believe we got this long without talking about AI, right? Everyone's talking about AI right now. And I'm sure when it comes to responding to reviews, I mean, that's a classic, probably classic use case, certainly at the moment. So how does that mesh together,
Yeah, obviously AI is not going anywhere. And Susie and I believe AI should be a tool. It shouldn't just be your end all be all of how you're communicating your brand. It can definitely be a place to start, but definitely you need to put the brand and the human element back into it. I don't think AI is like quite there yet to where you're wanting to just let it write everything for you, because people are going to be able to notice.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is how you train, right? So the more material you give it, the better material you get out. Like garbage in, garbage out is an expression I keep hearing bandied about, and I think that's very right when it comes to AI. So you can't just put it on your review response and have it, go bug wild. That's probably going to go very wrong, and it's probably going to not represent you well. But yeah, I get it. So wow, this has been fun, but we're going to have to close out soon. Last question though.
Yeah.
What's the future here like? It seems like what the picture you're painting is there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of potential for improvement. And I'm curious, how fast can we move as an industry, and like where is this all headed, and how do we think things might evolve?
So one thing I did want to mention about, which is kind of a perfect question, Andy, about AI is the reviews now are actually being pulled into, ChatGPT or whatever chatbot you're using. So Susie and I were testing, or Susie used it for this, like, what's the best queso near me? And then AI is actually pulling in the Google search results with the reviews. And as more people are going to start using AI tools for their search versus Google or versus, social media, as we move into AI becoming the new search tool, it's going to become more important than ever to make sure you, one, have a good amount of reviews every single month, because people want to see new reviews. They don't care what happened necessarily 6 months ago. And then they need to see that your brand is 4.0 or and above to even be in those search results. So that's where we see things going. So we really think that review management, reputation management is going to continue to be a really important strategy for restaurant brands to continue to drive those sales and traffic.
Wow, this has been great. Dare I say it, fun.
I mean, we love talking about this stuff. So yeah.
This is our passion. So we can talk about this all day long.
Like to say thanks so much for joining us here on Lessons from the Field. Really appreciate all your insights, a topic that's really close to Black Box Intelligence. And, candidly work you guys are great at what you do. So really appreciate all your insights. And anyone listening, take care, and we'll see you on the next episode of Lessons from the Field.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Lessons from the Field. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps others like you discover the lessons and grow along with us. For more resources, insights, and behind-the-scenes content, check out Black Box Intelligence in the show notes. Until next time, keep learning, innovating, and delivering unforgettable guest experiences.